Alexander Lukashenko, dubbed Europe's last dictator, marks 30 years in power. He's often seen as teetering on the brink of collapse, but has the instincts of a survivor. What, if anything, can the West do further? He's thrown in his lot with Vladimir Putin, so what good will this do him or his country? Join me, Jan Darasz, for How We Got Here.
July marked 30 years of Alexander Lukashenko as the leader of Belarus. His regime has become notorious for its authoritarian practices, civil and human rights abuses, and rule by fear. Recently, the European Union has sanctioned 28 Belarusian individuals for their role and involvement in the ongoing internal repressions in Belarus. The newly imposed sanctions target members of the judiciary responsible for politically motivated convictions of democratic activists. Since the rigged 2020 presidential election, tens of thousands of Belarusians have faced severe political repression, with most notable opposition leaders arrested or exiled. The sanctions list, now covering 261 individuals and 37 entities, also includes Lukashenko supporters, state media figures, and members of the Belarusian Youth Council. These individuals face EU asset freezes, travel bans, and prohibitions on EU citizens and companies providing funds to them. A significant portion of the imposed sanctions has been placed on Belarus due to its alliance with Russia. Minsk is frequently accused of enabling and assisting Moscow with its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This predicament is a direct result of Lukashenko's handling of the 2020 presidential election and the widespread protests that followed. His brutal crackdown on pro-democracy activists sparked strong reactions in the West, further isolating Belarus on the international stage and leaving Russia as the country's only viable close partner. Putin, aware of Lukashenko's dependence on Moscow, took full advantage of Belarus's desperate situation and brought the country firmly back into Russia's sphere of influence.
My guest today is Dmitry Bolkunets, and he's a political writer and independent analyst based here in Warsaw. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
We mark 30 years of Alexander Lukashenko's stay in power by hook or by crook. He seems to be written off by the West as always on the brink of collapse, but seems to be a born survivor. Is that an accurate picture of him as a street fighter who turns to the east, and the money from the east turns to the west, the money from the west? He seems to be surviving in power all the time.
Yeah, Lukashenko is a fantastic person who so long period on power. There are now a lot of persons in Europe or in the world who so long period continue on power, and Lukashenko a long period received money from Russia, and he really haven't any communication with West. Because if you analyze an economy of Belarus for a long period, it's a post-Soviet economy, and Belarusian society and Belarus now is just not democratic country. It's a real Soviet country now, because a lot of monuments of Lenin on the streets, yes. A lot of streets of former Soviet. A lot of. And Lukashenko is a person from the past. He's a person from Soviet past, and Lukashenko hate West. He just thinking that he must be together with Russia, and Russia using Lukashenko because he is one of the main partner now for Putin.
Yes.
And I believe now that after 4 years, after last elections in Belarus, presidential elections, Lukashenko received a lot of support from Putin: money, resources, media support, special security services support, etc. And Putin used Belarus for attack Ukraine.
Yes.
And that is a problem for West, because I believe that is for a long period West not look for Belarus like an independent state. They think that is influence from Moscow. like German policies, especially when we analyze in this period, I think this policy must be changed.
What are the effects that further sanctions can have on Lukashenko, in view of what you've just said about the German policy as the key player in the region? We've talked about the key relationship that historically Germany has always had with Russia, that the countries in between are divided up into spheres of influence. What's the real value of sanctions anyway, and can they ever work against a country like Belarus?
If you analyze in sanctions, effect of sanctions for the last 4 years, I believe that is not achieve any goals, because sanctions was against some steps from Lukashenko against security, like aircraft case or like Ukraine war, and these sanctions mostly probably Belarusians is persons who not allow the sanctions because problems with visa, problems with communication between countries. I believe that now Lukashenko, one person who is beneficiary from the sanctions due to sanctions against Russia, help him to receive more money for trade between Russia and the Euro Union. Belarus is one of like proxy country who receive a lot of money, like Kazakhstan, Armenia, etc.
And there's still trade going through the country into the EU.
And my view, the sanctions must be rethinking. We think, and a lot of analysts think that the sanctions must be against Lukashenko, not against Belarusians. That is why I think must be more measures for Belarusians receive.
Such as what? What sanctions could you impose specifically
against him?
Yeah.
I think a very effective measure to stop communication between Belarus and the Euro Union for goods. To stop temporary communication for trains, for trucks, and send him message. I and my colleagues sent him message for Lukashenko, and Polish government did the same. They sent message for Lukashenko, release political prisoners, stop migration war. That is a very effective instrument, like ultimatum for Lukashenko. It's not a sanction. It's a measure, temporary measure for stop repression and release political prisoners. And from the beginning of July, we analyzing process in Belarus, we believe that this measure allow to release some political prisoners. We hope it will be continue, but sanctions is not care Lukashenko, because he's real receive a lot of money due to trade between West and East Russia. And now Belarus is on full depend from Russia, because big influence on information sphere in economy, and Putin gave Lukashenko a lot of money. Putin not care about sanctions against Lukashenko, against Belarus.
I mean, so long as this trade persists, the fertilizer trade, for example, into the EU, isn't that just a message to say, okay, you're part of a democratic opposition, but money counts, and as long as the trade counts, your cause, your democratic aspirations are going to take second place. Is that what you fear, for example, from the EU policymakers?
No, I think policymakers in Euro Union, they just probably collect some information, but they independent in their opinions or their decisions against Belarus. But I think it's a problem because some experts or some politics who decided what happened or what must to do against Lukashenko in Belarus, they never been in Belarus. They not analyzing, not understand what happened in Belarusian society. That is problem. I think it's very important to organize a round table between some policymakers or experts from Euro-Union side and from some civil society, from Belarusian experts, and to step by step analyzing what happened, why the sanctions not so effective and now achieve their goals, because I think that must be rethinking.
You highlighted, as we were talking before we came on air, about the divisions in the Belarusian opposition. Fine, perfectly normal. It's a democratic process. We have the conflicts. But what is being a democratic voting system? Is that necessary as the first step in Belarus, or do you feel that you need to, I don't know, strengthen the organizations within the country, strengthen the income of the basic income of the people, the economic base? Is the democracy and the democratic process a luxury that Belarus can't afford? Otherwise, you're going to get a new oligarchic class coming in and replacing the old one, like you said in Venezuela, for example.
Yeah, I think now Belarus have a chance for near future due to some reasons. Lukashenko have problems with health, firstly, and secondly, in near future will be a new presidential campaign. It's a new window of opportunity because some experts 4 years ago said nobody go to presidential campaign, and some experts I think it was what happened in 4 years ago when 2 or 3 main persons took part in presidential campaign. They show Belarusians that they need changes. Probably in a new campaign it will be the same. Yes, Lukashenko now ruined all democratic movement inside Belarus, but I believe that Belarusians waiting changes. They hate Lukashenko because they tired of him, etc. But I believe now Belarusian democratic movement, who now in exile, they must be continue to show message for Belarusians inside country to continue do some steps, but yes. Firstly, we must release political prisoners. It's very, very important. All democratic experts or some leaders of democratic movement of Belarus, they must be together. Probably they have some differences in his policy views, but we continue together must be do all measures for release political prisoners. It's step number 1 for all for change situation in Belarus.
But Alexander Lukashenko is just going to repeat the same tactics that he repeated in the previous presidential elections. Just lock people up.
Yes,
bully them,
yes.
beat them up.
I think Lukashenko 4 years ago received a lot of resources from Russia. Russia support him, and the Euro-Union just sent message we will support, but just a statement, sometimes blah blah blah, but nothing more. And Russia gave Lukashenko $1 billion of money, and that is why probably Lukashenko now in power. Because the special securities persons, services, they understand the role of Russia in the process in Belarus. I believe now Euro-Union must be more and more paying attention for media, because now Russian influence media for Belarus society is huge. We must to pay attention for some bloggers, for some media resources to show message for Belarusians that they must be change situation in Belarus.
So both East and West are throwing money at Belarus,
Yes.
Belarusian authorities to buy them off. Okay, what's the future now for Alexander Lukashenko? 30 years in power, you mentioned that he's been given hints by Russia to leave. Who are the main... Is this a kind of going to be another court conspiracy where the people closer to him are going to fight for the power that he leaves? And will he do it? Will he listen to voices from Russia telling him to go?
So, not a lot of scenarios how will be a situation in Belarus in near future. Probably Lukashenko himself go to the next presidential campaign. Probably no, because Russia 4 years ago, and probably now, I do not know, they sent message for him that he must be go to retire. And probably it's one of the scenario also with health, because he is not a person who is now feel he's good. And the main persons around Lukashenko who will be next president as his eyes, in his eyes is Roman Golovchenko, now Prime Minister, Viktor Lukashenko, his son, Natalia Kachanova, leader of chairman of parliament, and probably former Prime Minister Sergei Rumas. I think not a lot of persons around him who have a big chance became next president, because this person must be receive support from Moscow. It's very important, and they must be also safe guarantee for Lukashenko, his family. And few months ago, Lukashenko received this personal guarantee in special law. Probably it's steps for some transitional period, political transit in Belarus. But Lukashenko is a person, the persons who know him very well. They said that Lukashenko never decided to leave this chair.
What is the Belarusian position on Ukraine, for example? They've acted as a staging post for a northern invasion a couple of years ago, but they've not actually directly involved Belarus as a country in Ukraine. Is that something that should be praised? But at least on seeing it through Alexander Lukashenko's eyes, he kept his country out of a direct conflict.
I think.
Or is this his? And do you think this is going to continue, or is this a policy that is likely to continue or to stop?
I know that Belarusians not support this war because it's Putin war, not Belarusians war, and Lukashenko, I think, has the same position.
There's no interest involved.
Yeah, because he's a person now mostly influenced from Moscow. He just play game together with Putin, and I hope that Belarusian army never go to Ukraine territory, and probably it's very important for communication in future for Ukraine. But Belarus, for my view, is very important country for security in Europe. Because it's a balcony for Russia as a possibility territory for attack, not only Ukraine, also Baltic states and Poland. That is why I believe...
you need to look at the map, don't you, really?
Yes. And that is why I believe it's very important to pay more and more attention for situation in Belarus. I think as a strategy for Belarus, for some democratization Belarus from the West must be rethinking, because now there are no any strategy from Euro Union and from US. Yes. That is why I think yes, some money, some persons receive some money from Euro Union, for example. Some persons receive 140,000 million euro for democratic movement, but nobody knows who receives this money. I believe that this money must be go to for security in Europe. That is why I hope. I just sent message, and when I met with some diplomats, I asked them to organize round table between some experts, some democratic experts, and together, step by step, analyzing situation. Because I am a person, and I believe that all Belarusians against new curtain between Belarus and Euro Union.
Yes.
We must be thinking about future, because Putin and Lukashenko, they too old. Probably 5 years will be a new situation in Europe. We must be thinking what will be in Belarus after Lukashenko.
Yes, I'm sure there's 5 years will give them plenty of time to read some history books.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Dmitry Bolkunets, for coming on to the programme. Great to have you.
Thank you.
So that's all we have time for today. Do join us next time for How We Got Here.